Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I thought I would do a little bit of a Q&A in like a two-part series. So I popped on my story the other week a question box with any questions you guys had for me, whether it was life, prep, training, work, anything. And I got quite a few, so what I will do is I'm probably going to split it in two parts so it's easier to watch. One will be more of a Q&A, get to know me, and then one will be all questions around prep, so prep related questions and things like me. So this will be part one, which will be a get to know me, and I've got the questions on my phone, so I'll just pretty much read them out and go through them. So there was lots, so try to sort of bucket them into to make it flow a little bit. So first question was, how long have you been living in the UK? So I've been living in the UK for about almost 6 years now. So I think in August it will be 6 years. So I left Australia back in, I think it was 2016, one of the two. And it was around August time. It was around just before my 21st birthday. And then I got a question saying, why did I move abroad? And so that ties in nicely with when I left. So I moved abroad after I'd finished studying in fashion and textiles merchandising actually. So I'd been working in styling for a little bit, also working sort of at the same time I was doing a bit of an internship, and I also was working in a retail store as an assistant manager. And I decided that I wanted to pursue more of a career in wholesale, which was the background of, you know, what I'd studied, the business side of fashion. So I decided that at the time there wasn't that many opportunities for me back in Melbourne. And I mean, I say back then, it wasn't that long ago, but things have changed and things have progressed a lot more. So if I was to have been in that position now, it might have been a little bit different. But yeah, back then I just felt like there was not a lot of opportunity in what I wanted to do, so I figured why not put myself into the center of a place where there was lots of opportunity. And because moving abroad was something that I actually really wanted to do for quite a long time, it just kind of seemed like the right idea. And it was kind of one of those, well, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? It was the best time, nothing really holding me down, so I did it. And I moved over to, yeah, essentially get better work prospects, to put myself in the center of a really busy city that was at the heart of the fashion industry at the time, still is one of the main hubs for work within the business side of fashion. So yeah, that's why I up and left and came over, and it's been a whirlwind since. Got very lucky when I came over, managing to secure an internship that turned into a role and find somewhere to live and all that. So that was a really great experience. It was an experience, but it was a really great experience, and it taught me so much. And yeah, I think that could be a whole video in itself, but I think moving and living abroad is such an incredible experience. And I think if you ever think about it, you're pondering it, no matter what age you are, I think it would always be an incredible opportunity for anyone to do. So I would strongly advise you that if you are thinking about it or you've always dreamed of it, just pursue it, just do it, because you're not getting any younger, and you will learn so much about yourself, so much about the world. You will meet so many amazing different people, you'll be exposed to so many different experiences and adventures, and yeah, it can be a decision that can change your life. Okay, next one. What do you do for work, and is fitness your full-time gig? So no, fitness is not my full-time gig at the moment. I do work a corporate job, so I work a 9 to 5, not usually 9 to 5, it's like 8 till 7. But yeah, I work an office job, and I'm currently transitioning. So I've been in a business analyst role for the last 2 years, and now I'm moving into an account management role. And I currently work within the FMCG industry, so no longer in fashion. And yeah, no, fitness is not my full-time gig. It is my passion. It is something that I absolutely love. I am a qualified PT and nutrition coach. I have, last year I did expand my online coaching business quite a bit, but I have shrunk back. And I only have a few clients at this point in time, purely because I want to make sure that I give my time and effort in the right way. I would never want it to be something that either became a burden or something that I wasn't able to give my full attention and time to. So I figured it was just, with everything going on, with all the different things that I'm, you know, trying to achieve, with having a full-time job, with competing and prepping and things like that, and trying to, you know, be in a relationship and be a good friend and be a human, I think it all got very busy. So when I did decide to scale it back, it was a shame because it is something that I love so much, but yeah, for me it was just really important that I gave it my all in the right way, and if I couldn't, then I needed to scale back and reprioritize. And I think it will be something that I can then rescale once I get my other ducks in order and I'm able to sort of forge my own pathway when the time is right. Yeah, so I think not right now, but it potentially will be in the future. Well, potentially it will be in the future. Did I go to college? So college is very much a US language lingo thing, I think. So back in Australia we call it university. I'm not sure what they call it here in the UK. Maybe college? I don't know. But yes, I did go to university. I studied 3 years and I completed a Bachelor of Fashion and Textiles Merchandising at RMIT University in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. How old am I? I am 27. Every time someone asks me, I just forget. I feel like COVID last year just kind of like threw me off. I mean, even before then I was always like, what is my age? Like, how old am I again? But no, I am 27, turning 28 this year. Did you move to London with your boyfriend? No, I didn't. I met him when I was here and he actually wasn't here. He was in Portugal at the time. How long have you been with your boyfriend? So we have been together for 3 years now. Yeah. Do you miss home? Do I miss home? I don't want to straight out say no because I don't want that to come across wrong. But I think for a couple of reasons I don't have a really homesick feeling a lot of the time. I think there's elements that I definitely do miss. I miss my friends, and all my friends right now are having babies and they're getting married and they're setting up their lives, and I really wish that I could be there and be a part of it with them all to celebrate all the exciting things happening in their lives. And I miss my family. I miss my sister. My sister just had a little baby, so I have a new nephew and I really want to meet him and hold him and just give him some love. So yeah, I do miss, you know, the people and being there, and the effortlessness of going for a coffee with them a suburb away. I miss that, and I do miss the light. It sounds silly, but the light here in London and in the UK is very different to the natural light in Australia. I feel like it's so much brighter back there, and of course it feels sunnier and it feels lighter, even if Melbourne and London are very similar in that you can get 4 seasons in a day, and you literally do. And in Melbourne it's not always sunshine and hot. Melbourne is I would say Melbourne is a part of the country that sees the most varying temperatures and probably doesn't have the stereotypical Australian weather that people would expect. That's more Queensland, where it's sunshine, you're at the beach, you're enjoying life all the time, it's super warm. But in saying that, summer is changing in Melbourne. I mean, it can start later or earlier and be super hot still, so, but that's not the point. The light is very different regardless whether it's summer or winter, whereas here it is kind of just grey all the time. And it's very dull, and even when it's light it's very dark. So I miss that, and I miss just nature. I miss the smell of, like, not the bush, but like eucalyptus, and the smell of nature and being out there. I miss the gardens and the parks, and that's not to say that you can't get them here in London, because you absolutely can. And I was just the other week, I was in, what was it called? Wimbledon Common. I think it was Wimbledon Common, which I'd never been to before, and it felt like a whole different world. It was like you were getting lost in this, not bush, but like in nature, in the outdoors, you were able to walk around and there was not a direct road that was busy with traffic. Yeah, it was a little bit further away, but it just felt like a different place. And I think that's definitely what I miss about home. I miss being in nature. I miss that element, and I would say it's those things that make me remember that Australia will always be home and I can always go there, and I think that's what also gets me by. But it is a place that I could see myself settling down, but probably not in Melbourne, if I'm honest. I would definitely, if I was to ever settle down back in Australia, it would be somewhere up in Queensland. I've always said I would want to live up in, you know, Queensland, by the water, and really live that life. But yeah, I think there's elements that I miss, but I don't miss it on the whole. I have been back quite a few times. So I've been here for almost 6 years now, and I think every year but last year I've been back at least once, if not twice a year. For various reasons. Most of the time I've been back for weddings. Once I went back twice in 1 year for a wedding, and then to sort out my visa or passport. So I'm very lucky in that it's not like I've gone 5 years straight without seeing anyone from my family or returning home. So I think that has helped a little bit in order to help me, not help me, but the distance has made me miss it a little bit more, which is nice because it is so far away that when I kept going back, it didn't really give me that break to say, okay, I'm away. It gives me time to really miss it and go back and enjoy it and then come back. Not to say that I don't enjoy it when I go back, but you know how they say absence makes the heart grow fonder? Well, it's like that, in a sense, to, you know, relating that to being back home. Don't know if that makes sense. Went on a bit of a tangent there. Anyway, next question. When do you train, morning or night? This is more of a fitness related question, but I'll answer it here anyway. I prefer to train in the morning, so I find I am useless in the evening. Potentially because I get up earlier, but I just find I have more energy in the morning. Naturally, I tend to wake up around 6, maybe 5. Kind of gets a little bit earlier now because I've sort of started to not teach myself, but get into a routine where I get up relatively early the last couple of years. So it kind of, where I used to maybe wake up at 7, now I wake up at 6 or 5. But I'm a morning person. I love to get up. I love to get things done. I was just saying with a friend the other week, we were joking around and saying, you know, we are in that mindset of that we love to get up early and get stuff done. And if by 10 or 11 a.m. we haven't achieved X, Y, Z, we kind of feel like we're a bit of a failure. And I think that's something that I'm really trying to work on, because it's true. I think I get up early, and if I haven't ticked off a couple of boxes by 9 a.m, I do get frustrated, or I have gotten frustrated in the past, and I'm definitely working on it, because that frustration can really carry out to other areas of your life, and it's just something that, like, it's a pressure that's like self-made, and I guess it's a pressure that I've also picked up from, you know, being on social media or being around people that are super productive and get things done, and I love that they're like busting it, but it almost made me feel like I wasn't doing enough, which it was just a pressure that was unnecessary. So for me, getting up early, getting things done in the morning, doing my training first thing sets me up for the day. And because I absolutely love it, it's the best part of my day. So I want to do it first. I don't want to wait until the evening and wait while my energy depletes, or if work is busy and I just can't, you know, muster up that energy in the evening. I don't give myself the chance to not get it in, because I love it and I love how it makes me feel. So I find that it sets the tone for my day, and I'm really energized and awake, even if it's a hard session. So definitely the morning. How long have I been going to the gym? I've been going to the gym since well before I moved over here. It would have been since maybe I was about 19 or 20. So what's that? I mean, not 10 years if it was 19 or 20, but I think, yeah, around that. I mean, ever since I could drive, I know I remember always driving to the gym. So yeah, it's been quite a few years. And in terms of training, the way that I train, that is where it's been a little bit less. So I would always go to the gym. I think when I first started going to the gym, I would do a lot of the Kayla It Science programs. And those ones are what introduced me to using sort of gym-based equipment or using free weights and things like that in a small sense. But I was very much in that mindset of, you know, working off, well, let's just say I had a mindset where it wasn't the healthiest. And again, that could be, you know, I could, if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about that, I can definitely go into it, because I definitely, over the last 7 years, have grown so much in terms of my mindset towards health and fitness, training, food, everything. I think I went from having very unhealthy relationships with those areas to now having probably the best I've ever had, absolutely the best I've ever had. But yeah, back then it was all about, you know, getting heart rate up, being really intense, being really explosive, not really touching heavy weights, because heavy weights would make me too muscular and things like that. And then when I came to the UK, I would still go to the gym. I think one of my first things here was finding a gym that was close to my home, which I did. I did some PT sessions. I dabbled in a bit of yoga, or playing around with what was called yoga, but for me I was just like trying to get bendy and stretchy and stuff. Different styles of weight training, things like that. And then it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 years ago that I think it was 3 or maybe 4 years ago that I started to really sort of like train properly in the gym, use weights, use progressive overload, and try and train in a way that I could start to see changes in my body, that I wasn't just running myself ragged and not really seeing any results. So I think weight training for about 3 to 4 years, but really solid when I think I saw the most change when I really did sort of consult that one-on-one coaching relationship with my previous coach. Why do you like going to the gym? I like pushing myself. I like pushing myself beyond what I think I can do. I like seeing progress. And ultimately, I want to see how far I can push myself. I want to build myself the body that I've always dreamed of and more. And that's not to say that I don't love my body, because I love my body the way it is right now. I think I've never seen it the way it is. And not right now in terms of, I don't mean comp prep lean, don't get me wrong there. I just mean the way that I've been able to build my physique from what it was to what it is now. And I'm so excited to see what I build it into over the next few years. Because yeah, I think I always was in that mindset that I would never be able to look like the person that I wanted to, or my idols, or people that I looked up to, just because I couldn't do it. And I was in a very fixed mindset, not a growth mindset. And I put myself in a box that I can't do it, I'm not good enough. So the reason that I love going now is because it's that space where I challenge myself. And even if you have a bad day, showing up is half the battle, and you're better off for it. So I love the way that the gym makes me feel. I love getting a sweat on. I love just being in my element. I mean, I go to the gym 99% of the time, hair in a messy bun on the top of my head, no makeup, just rolled out of bed, and I've never felt more like me. I've never felt more like it's my place to be. And I'm in my element. And I think it's just when you find that thing that it just clicks. And so I notice when I don't go to the gym, I notice that my energy's lacking. I notice that I'm probably in a worse mood, or I'm just not as bubbly and I'm not as positive throughout the day. So yeah, I think my why as to going to the gym is because I love it, and I love it because I grow from it. It makes me exhilarated, it makes me feel alive, and it's just my passion. I just love it so much, and I know so many people out there feel the same, because there's a community of us that absolutely love that. And it's fine if you don't love that. You've got to find what it is that you love in life, whether it be a hobby or work or anything. Do you like living in London? I do. I do like living in London. I feel very lucky to be able to live in London right now, and to have been able to live in London for so long. I think, as with anything, it has its pros and cons. I think it's not my forever home. I know that for sure, but it has helped me grow so much living here. I've learnt so much about myself and about the world, for lack of better words. and it's really opened my eyes. It's challenged me in many ways, and the country itself is wonderful in that I'm so lucky to be so close to all of Europe, for everything around me to be so accessible. I think coming from Australia, where everything is far and wide, where you can travel 2 hours and still be in the same state, whereas if you fly for 2 hours, you're in a completely different European country over here. I think that's what I love about London. I think you can literally go on a holiday vacation to a different country. You can explore Europe. It's at your fingertips when COVID's not around. And I love the different types of people that are here. I think one thing that surprised me so much about moving to London was that not everybody here is British. And it is very much like the inner city of Melbourne, but on steroids, in that it's so multicultural. You'll walk down the street and you will probably 9 times out of 10 hear any other foreign language but English, or but 2 British people speaking. Which I think is really cool, because it shows that there is so much exposure to so many different people with such different experiences, so many different backgrounds, that it's just a whole new world. Have you always lived in London? No, so I've been living here for the past almost 6 years. And which do you prefer, London or Australia? That's a hard one. I think I couldn't compare them and say I loved one more than the other. I think they each have their pros and cons, like I said before. Each has a different special space in my heart. I think moving to London and being in London has made me such a better person. And not in a bad way, not to say that I was a bad person, but it has allowed me to become me. It's allowed me to open up, to explore who I am, the different versions of me, and just build a life that I love. And that's not to say that I couldn't have done that in Australia. That's not to say that I wouldn't have loved my life had I stayed in Australia. But personally, I felt that back in Australia, I was in a bit of a bubble, and I was in a bit of a box. And I felt that I was in a bit of a fixed mindset, and that people back there in general were in a bit of a fixed mindset, like you had to go through a certain process and your life had to pan out a certain way, and you had to go to high school, finish high school, go to university, get a job, find a partner, settle down, buy a house, get engaged, get married, have kids, and that was it. And maybe travel a tiny bit in between there. And I didn't see that for myself. I saw a very different life for myself. To be honest, I saw a different life for myself than what I'm living now, and that's absolutely fine. I think we all have an idea of what we think our life will be like. I mean, weren't we all those people, females and males, being like, oh yeah, at 25, we'll be married, having kids, in an amazing house. 27 now, and don't think so. But I saw a different life for myself. I saw myself being a bit of a boss lady. I wanted to be like a CEO of a fashion company, or working for a big magazine, or working for a big fashion house. And I do miss, side note, I do miss that element of being in the fashion industry. And it hasn't been until recently that I wanted to think about exploring it more, but that's not the point. I wanted to be that boss lady. I didn't see myself in a relationship. I didn't see myself, traveling much. I didn't see myself exploring many other things. I just sort of saw myself as being one of those people that would be a workhorse, working to the bone, working from 6 till late in the evening, being on my phone and my laptop all the time, just, grinding, getting work done. And probably in an apartment in a high-rise building, things like that, working in the city. And back then it didn't really suit the Melbourne lifestyle or the Australian lifestyle. It wasn't really like that back then. Yeah, you could say that I was fantasizing that it was like a film or a movie or a TV show, which it sounds exactly like that. But moving over to London, I got exposed to that a little bit more, in a sense that I could go after my career goals and I could work the job that I wanted to. I didn't need to feel like I needed to find a partner and settle down, because that wasn't my aim over here. And everybody over here, the one thing that I realized once I got here was that you don't have to fit a certain criteria. You don't have to have ticked a certain amount of boxes by the time you're 25 or 30. You don't have to settle down and have kids and get married and do this and that. You can literally do and be whatever you want. And no one's going to, I mean, people will always say something, but no one really makes you feel like you should have done this or that. In terms of like, society doesn't make you feel guilty for doing what you want. And this probably comes across quite harsh. Not that anyone back in Australia or society wasn't making me feel like I was a failure, but I just felt like I was restricted and kind of caged a little bit. And it might have just been all in my head, but the people that do leave Australia and travel and explore and then go back or live abroad for a while, the ones that I've spoken to get me and they understand what I'm saying. And I'm sure some of you out there that might be watching this might know a little bit about that or understand it a little bit. And it's just really interesting, and it's just really eye-opening. So I think I don't prefer one over the other. I think there's elements of each that I love, there's elements of each that I don't love so much, but I couldn't really say one over the other, because I love the life that I have right now here, and the life that I lived in Australia was great. If I was to go back, I think it would be completely different again, which it would also be great. So I think they each serve a purpose, both living back in Melbourne and living here. And I'm grateful for both of them, but no one is better than the other. They're just different. And yeah, I do love my life here, so we'll see what happens over the next few years and where I end up in the grander scheme of things. But yeah, that's all the questions I'll answer for getting to know me, because I don't want this video to be insanely long and boring. But I will do part 2 around competition prep and fitness and all that kind of stuff, and answer all your questions that you've sent through for there, so thank you for that. But thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video and getting to know me a little bit more. If you have any other questions or any feedback or anything else, just leave it in the comment box below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. So thanks so much, guys. Mwah!